Is there anything to the college world becoming less attractive to coaches compared to the NFL because of what's going on at the collegiate level with recruiting and NIL and the portal and the lack of what appears to be enough guardrails? You know, you've got Jeff Hafley of Boston College taking a gig as a DC in Green Bay. And is there anything going on with Chip Kelly where he would give up the UCLA head coaching job to become a coordinator in the NFL again, Tom?
There is certainly a possibility we see Chip Kelly back as an OC in the NFL. He has been on lists specifically with Dan Quinn. We'll see whether or not it actually, comes to pass here. But, Chip has spoken on the NIL thing. All of a sudden, they're in the Big Ten, and every road trip is going to be a 4-hour flight. There's a lot of factors here. Jeff Hafley, though, I'm a BC graduate, and so I've spent time with Jeff Hafley after he got the job. We have a lot of mutual friends because he worked for the Kyle Shanahan staff in San Francisco. He spent like 8 years in the league, and so he was always, when he first got the job, he was always like, "We got to get you out to a game. We got to get you out to a game." And so they finally had a Friday night home game because, as you know, Rich, we get a little busy Saturday. Yeah. So it's not a good time for me to be, having a few pops in the parking lot out there. But I went out because they had a Friday night game against Duke, and Hafley was like, "Come over, come to the team meeting." So I was in there in the team meeting. We talked for quite a while. This is not this past fall. This is back in 2022. But, in that conversation we had that night, I could tell, and he gave a great breakdown of just kind of how complicated things are. Because think about this, at a program like BC, okay, you're never going to have the big NIL money. It's just not going to happen. You don't have donors the same way that you do at massive state universities or in the SEC and some of those types of programs. So Hafley did a great job of recruiting. If you look at his actual recruiting classes and where they ranked, they were really good. But there were very few players from the prior coaching staff who were even contributing as of 2022. I think it was like 6 or 8 guys that were playing at all. And so Hafley has this great class. He's got all these freshmen. They end up playing a lot. Some of them play really well. So what happens? After the season now, SEC programs, big schools are offering them 6 figures to transfer. So you're re-recruiting guys after the season. Then the guys that you get back, you go through spring ball, there's a second transfer window then that exists. Now you're re-recruiting them a second time, and you can't just pay the way other schools frankly can to keep guys in-house. So it's this constant churn of not just getting the guys on campus, which Hafley did at a prestigious institution like BC that's not easy to get into, Rich. He had a lot of talent on that roster, but actually the retention and the fact that multiple times a year you can have players pulling away, and that's without even getting into the second free transfer and everything else that exists right now. I fear, as somebody who still likes to watch my alma mater play football, that programs like that are going to die. The programs like that are not going to be able to compete, and eventually it will end up being, you'll have the upper tier of the schools. It'll be, a dozen to 2 dozen of them, and then you'll have the second tier that are, the BCs of the world. And that's unfortunate, because part of the great thing about college football has always been you get Matt Ryan on campus, and in 2007 they make a run and they're on the precipice of going into a championship situation. I mean, that's really cool. You can have the teams come from the middle or the bottom and go all the way to the top, but it becomes that much more difficult when money rules things. There's probably different things that need to happen from a regulation standpoint to level the playing field a little bit here, but it's not a unique story to BC. There's a lot of those types of programs that are never going to be the blue bloods. They're never going to be the ones that just have massive, oil money being pumped into the program all the time. It's just a tough place to win. And I know Jeff wanted also to get back to the NFL, focus on coaching football full time and not all the other stuff that comes with being a head coach right now.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.